Welcome, Dallas educators, to Introduction to the Educator Development Suite. My name is Beth Kleiman, and I will be your facilitator for this recorded webinar. At any point, you can pause or rewind the recording to get review. My goals for this webinar are for you to become familiar with and how to create Student Learning Objectives, or SLOs, Professional Development Plan, or a PDP, Self-Reflection, as well as view observations. Schoolnet is an online platform that will hold all of the observation data, your SLOs, as well as your PDPs in order to support the TEI implementation. Be aware that during today's webinar, or recorded webinar, I will be demonstrating on the PowerPoint. I will show you on the PowerPoint as an overview, and then I'm going to go live onto our own training site. I will be demonstrating the functionality and not kind of the pedagogy behind the TEI responsibilities. If you have any questions in regards to that, then you will need to speak to your administrators. So when you log into Schoolnet, you'll see some modules at the very top, and you will go straight to what we call the Educator Development section. And this is the view that you will see as a teacher. The middle section is really the area that you'll want to go to enter your SLOs and your PDPs. And then once you have an observation, you will be able to access your observation from there as well. So let's go in and talk about student learning objectives. The SLO tool will be very similar to the observation tool. So you'll notice that once you do get your observation, it'll match some of the same categories. So there's two different SLO, what we call windows, where basically you will do a SLO for the beginning of the year, and we call that kind of your goal setting. And at any time that you're creating your SLO, you can attach artifacts, and they can be aligned to an individual statement or element, or even at the very end. And these are just some samples of some artifacts that you can attach. And again, the windows will be similar. I mean, the forms will be similar, but you'll just have to make sure you choose the correct window. So as we said, we have the SLO setting window, and then the goal accomplishment, which is at the end of your SLO period. Now, at any time, you can start adding your accomplishments. You can basically start your goal accomplishment SLO once you have submitted your goal setting. And you can use what we call a notepad and attach artifacts to help support you throughout the year. So here's the process for a teacher to create the student learning objective. You're going to create your SLO goal setting, and then you'll send that actual form within the tool to your administrator. Now you can optionally work with your administrator to refine your goal setting, and just be aware that all standards listed for proficient in your SLO rubric tool must be completed before an administrator can approve. So just be aware that your SLO may not be approved because the administrator will need to align all the standards. Once it's been approved, you'll receive notification from your administrator within the tool. And then, as I mentioned, throughout the year, a teacher can add artifacts and use a notepad to kind of record private comments to use for the year-end goal accomplishment form. This is a nice feature because there may be something really great that happens that you'll want to track, so you can put that in the tool and save it. And then at the end of the year, you'll just finish your goal accomplishment form and complete it, and then share that again with your administrator. So just so that you know what the administrator will see is the administrator will receive a notification within the tool that they have an SLO goal setting submission. And then they're going to make comments and then approve it, and then they could share it back with you. And then they're going to repeat this process again at the end of the year when you do the goal accomplishment. So how does a teacher create an SLO? you're going to hover over Educator Development, and you're going to select Student Learning Objectives. From here, you'll be brought to a form, and if you have never created one before, which most likely it's the beginning of the year you have not, you'll want to be sure that you select the proper window. So you'll be sure that this says the SLO setting. At this point, then you'll select Create New, and then you'll be brought within the form. The system will automatically auto-save after every few minutes, or you can always select Save here. We have a notepad option, so if you select the notepad, you can type some information in that you might want to use at a later time. Artifacts is where you'd actually attach your artifacts. You will scroll down and go through and enter in all of the components of the template or worksheet that's here. You can also print it, and then you can ask, use the question box to ask for the online help. Once you have finished your SLO, you can then share that with your administrator. You will have to type in your administrator's name, and the system will automatically prompt you with anyone in the district. So you will type in your administrator's name, select it, and then if you want to write a message, then you're going to select Share. At this point, your administrator will receive a notification at the top of the screen that says that they have an SLO that's been shared with them, so they can view it from there. At that point, the administrator will review it, make changes, approve it, and then they will, once they've done that, responded, you as the teacher will receive a notification as well. It will be as soon as you log in, it's a little number right next to your name, and when something's new, it will appear in red, and then you can click here to view what their response is. So now I'm going to demo this live on a training site, and I'm going to sign in as a teacher, and I'm going to create an SLO, and then I'm going to submit that SLO to my administrator. So as I said, I'm going to be using a training site, and since I'm not going through the whole process, I'm just going to copy and paste as well from a Word document to speed things up. So I'm going to log in, and I'm brought to my home page, and then right from here, I can hover over Educator Development and select Student Learning Objectives. Now, since I am using the training site, I will have a different naming convention for my window, but be aware yours is called just SLO Setting. So you'll want to be sure that yours just says SLO Setting. And at this point, I'm going to create new. So just key thing to remember is to be sure that you select the correct window. So right here, what you're able to see is that right here it says Student Learning Objective 0 of 4 complete. So what I can do is if I've already created some SLOs that I want to use, I can just go to my Word document right here and just copy and paste into my template. That makes it a little bit easier for me to include what I want to do. So I make sure that I've entered text in all the fields. If I want to add an additional comment here, I can do that for my administrator to see. But the one thing that I want to show you before I save, and as you can see, this has automatically been saved, I can use a notepad if I like to just add in specific comments of maybe I want to work on my growth targets, maybe my assessments. So I can continue to track things, and if I want to, I can link it to what we call standards. So when I click link to standards, this is then going to show me the 4 sections of my SLO. So if what I just wrote I want to put in the time period, I'm going to go ahead and save it, and it's automatically going to add it to that area. Now let's talk about artifacts. This is where I'm going to actually upload or attach. So I can click on upload. I can enter a title. So maybe I want it to be an assessment. I'm going to choose my file type. It'll be a document. I'm going to navigate to my desktop. And I'm just going to attach any file. So I'm just going to attach this math SLO that I have. So I just give it a name, I choose the type of file, and then I attach it. And then if I want to link it again to one of the standards, I can click here, or I can click to the whole SLO. So I'm going to go ahead and save my changes. And now you can see that my artifact is attached. I'll get my actions option right here. And at this point, I can edit it or delete it if I attach the wrong file, or I can even download it. And then if I need to add an additional file, I can select Add Here. So now I want to go back to my SLO, and now I can see that since I attached that artifact to the whole SLO, I now have a link here that shows View Artifact. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. And do you recall when I created that notepad note, I entered it in here. So if I wanted to, I can edit it from here. So it's really helpful to use the notepad, especially in your goal accomplishment window. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and share it with my administrator. So when I click on Share, I'm going to start typing in my principal's name. So since this is a training site, I know that my principal's name is just Arguello Principal. I'm going to say, here is my first attempt at my SLO. And then I'm going to go ahead and share it. And then at this point, it tells me my draft was shared successfully. And then my administrator will receive notification at the top of the screen. So I'm going to choose Save and Exit. And then, as you can see now, I have my window. It shows me my SLO here. I then have actions. So if my administrator hasn't made any changes to it or suggested anything, I can go ahead and edit it or delete it if I want to start a new one. So that's how you create an SLO. Again, you're going to hover over Educator Development, select Student Learning Objectives, and you will choose your window and create new. Now, as we were waiting for us to get this approved, you'll see that I now have a notification here. So my principal obviously has reviewed it, so it tells me that my Student Learning Objective has been approved, and then I can click here to view it. So this basically is going to give me that SLO I created. However, at this point, I'm not able to make any edits to it. But if I want to start creating my goal accomplishment, I can do that. So I'm going to choose Save and Exit. And now if I go to Educator Development, go to my Student Learning Objective, as you can see here, I can only view it. I can no longer edit or delete it. So if I want to start my goal accomplishment for next year, I can select the goal accomplishment window. So now let's go back to my PowerPoint, and we're going to talk about PDP. So PDP, or Professional Development Plans, are basically created the same way we created the SLO. Now, what's important to note is each teacher will complete this PDP during their goal setting period. So teachers will select 2 personal areas of focus. Now, the first PD goal must be aligned to an indicator in Domain 2, and you'll see that when you log in. And then your second PD goal can be selected from any domain. The teacher then shares that PDP with the administrator in advance of a conference for review or whatever the process is in your school. And then the administrator approves the teacher's PDP, and then the administrator also monitors the progress. Again, you want to check with your administrator what the process is about these conferences that they're meeting with you, or what they're doing in regards to the PDP. I'm just going to show you how it works in the tool. So basically, the goal for each teacher is to really develop a plan that's tailored to your own individual learning needs, that's going to align to your, basically, your observation rubric. So once the teacher submits the PDP, they need to, again, create it and then submit it. Now, just know that when a teacher submits the PD plan, the status will show as pending approval. Then the administrator will assign a status of either approved or revisions requested. If it's been approved, you will only be able to view it. So let's go in and create a PD plan. Exactly the same way, I'm going to hover over Educator Development, and I'm going to select my PD plan. Now be aware that teachers can only create one PD plan per the window. So again, your PD plan window will appear up in the top left corner, and you'll choose the exact window. And then once you've selected it, once you select the correct window, you'll select Continue. So the first goal, which is Goal 1, must be aligned to an indicator in Domain 2. And this will probably be discussed with you by your administrator. And that all the indicators will appear, but you will have to select your first goal from Domain 2. So once you are ready to review and submit it, you'll select the goal, you'll type in some information, and then you will submit for your administrator to approve. Now be aware that the teacher, the process for an administrator is you won't have to put in their name. All administrators can access the PDP. Now if they have sent it back to you for revisions, you'll see a link here that says Revisions Requested, and you will also get notification just like we did before. So you'll be able to see the goal, any comments, you can view your details, and so on. And then if you need to edit the goals, you can edit the goals as well. So now I'm going to stay signed in as a teacher, and I'm going to submit my PDP, or my Professional Development Plan, and as I mentioned, this is not sent to an individual administrator, but it will be available to all administrators at the school. So I'm going to hover over Educator Development, and I'm going to select my PD plan. And again, I want to be sure that I'm selecting the correct window. So yours will just say PD plan. Again, I'm on a training site. And then I'm just going to say Start. And as you can see, it says it must align to Domain 2. And I do have my text document here. So I can easily choose my PD plan that I want to access. And I'm going to just copy and paste. Let's say highlight. And paste it into the domain. Describe my goal here. And then I can use the next arrow here or save it if I like. I'm just going to go to my next, choose my next goal, be 1.4. And as you can see, I've already picked 2.2, so it tells me that that's my goal, so I couldn't choose it again. I could, but it just tells you that you've already chosen it as a goal. So if I wanted to go back to my previous goal and maybe change it, I can do that here and then go forward. Now I can save it, and it's basically going to save it, but as I mentioned, everything in the tool automatically saves. And then once it's saved and you have that green checkbox, I can then submit my plan. But I'm going to go ahead and close it just in case you're not ready to submit it. So as you can see, I'm able to review my plan. I can edit it if I like or submit it again. So I'm going to go in and go ahead and edit. Maybe change my goal. Do save. And now let's also add an artifact, because I have the ability to add an artifact to my PD plan as well. Just like I did on my on my SLO, it tells me it does have a file limit, but I can select any file. Go ahead and select it, and it'll tell me whether it was successful or not. I can align it to one of my goals if I want, enter a description if I like, and then add the artifact. As you can see, it's pretty straightforward. Also, depending on what your administrator would like for you to do, you can include them or not. Go ahead and cancel now. So what I showed you was how to create a PD plan. And again, this is usually done just once for the whole year. I hovered over Educator Development, and then I select my PD plan, and I chose my window, and then I said Create New. And now let's submit my plan, and it says it's available for review by leadership, and you'll see it's pending approval, and once that gets approved, you'll be able to see the approvals here. So I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint, and let's talk about an optional feature, which is the self-reflection. Now, again, some schools are using this, so you'll want to check with your administrator to see if this is something that they will be using. It is not required, but again, if your administrator chose to implement it, they will confirm that with you. So this is really just a quick overview just to demonstrate the functionality. The nice thing about a self-reflection tool is it allows a teacher to reflect on their practice throughout the year. And so a self-reflection can remain in draft and only be accessible by you, the teacher. But if the teacher submits the self-reflection as final, then the school administrator can view it. And at that point, you can't make any changes to it. So it helps teachers facilitate kind of your reflection on your own practice. Administrators can require this component, and this tool can be used at the beginning of the year prior to you setting goals for your PDP, or at the middle of the year as a mid-year reflection, or even towards the end of the year prior to your summative performance evaluation conference. So it's just a nice thing to use to help you as you're working through kind of reflecting on your own practice. Some of the suggestions may be some professional development that you might want to use in a certain area to help, improve your teaching. So now I'm going to go ahead and demo this on the site, and you'll see it's basically the same thing. Hover over Educator Development and select Self-Reflection. Now, what you'll see here is this self-reflection template very much matches in your observation templates. You'll see there's lots and lots of standards to address here. So if I just take the text that I was using and just paste it in here, it makes it a lot easier. Now I can save it along the way. I want to be sure that I choose my correct window as well, right here. So you want to be sure that you select self-reflection, which will show for you all. Again, my training site, my naming is a little bit different. Now, if I wanted to, I could go ahead and submit it, but it'll tell you that you have to provide comments for every indicator. So as I scroll down, you'll see all these other indicators, which is about 15, maybe more than 15, 20 of them, you will have to fill in before you submit it. So it's actually a nice thing to do just as a draft. So if I'm just going to save and exit, which is fine, you have the ability to save it and then come back to it. So when you go to your self-reflection here, I can then move into my next section and type in what my own self-reflection is of this practice. So again, you can save and exit and work through it throughout the whole year. Again, it's not required, but it is a tool that's available to you. So now let's talk about the last piece, which is how do you access your observation results? So to access the observation results, your observation obviously has to be completed by an administrator, and you will receive a notification. So as I've mentioned before, you're going to get alerts at the very top, and you can see on my training site I've had some alerts pop up. So you'll receive an alert when your SLO has been approved, when an observation has been shared with you, and sometimes an email may be included as well, which will bring you directly to the observation. One thing to keep in mind about these notifications are they will be removed from the list after 14 days, but that doesn't mean you can't access the observation after. So to access the observation, you're going to hover over Educator Development and select My Observation, or select it directly from View It Now. When you bring up the observation, this is available to you as the teacher as well as the observer, and you can start seeing a cumulative score if they're tracking it. You can print it. The observer can add attachments to it, so if you've provided them with a lesson plan for a particular lesson. You can also add comments from a teacher, as a teacher as well. So now I'm going to sign in as a teacher, show you how to access your observation, and then we're going to end the webinar. So I'm going to hover over Educator Development, and I'm going to click on My Observation. Now, if you do not have an observation yet, nothing will show. If you are able to view last year's observation, you will have the ability to actually choose the different windows. So since, again, this is my training site, know that your first window to appear will be considered your spot observation. So as you can see, it gives me the standard. I'm going to actually choose a different window. And now what you can see is I can see my score, I can see the standard, and then I can see any comments that my reviewer provided. I can see an overall score as well. Again, I mentioned if the administrator attached any artifacts, they would appear here. If you want to add a comment, you can add a comment here and save it, and your administrators will have access to it. And then if there's any additional details, if it tells you what section they observed you in, what grade, how many students, and so on. So any of that information will be kind of collapsed up here. I can scroll to the bottom, and you can see the full evaluation, or observation, sorry, and it will all appear here. Now, I mentioned briefly that there's another piece to the educator development, and that's our PD planner, or PD search, should we say. And if this standard has any professional development happening in the district, you can click on this link, and it will take you to any options of professional development that would be available to you to help support this standard. So again, once you have an observation, you'll receive a notification at the top, just like Marisol has here, and then you'll be able to click to view it, or you can click on Educator Development and access your observation, and then choose the window that you want to view the observation for. So I want to thank you very much for your time, and I hope you will listen to some other webinars that we're doing in the series. And good luck with using the educator development tool.